Hey everyone, I hope you can hear me. Okay, so give me thumbs up if you can hear me, just so that I know. And welcome to my new free masterclass called Black Friday Magic. And the reason I decided to host it is that I feel that, especially in this economic environment, everyone needs sales, everyone needs to survive if you're a product based business. But there's been so much judgment, so much opinion about should you or should you not do Black Friday, should you or not discount your products. And I, of late, have decided that it's about time that I voiced also my opinion, because I don't agree with the way the fashion industry has become so binary and it's either this or that. So the purpose of this masterclass is to for some of you to help you see a different side of what Black Friday can be, for others to perhaps challenge your opinions. And I believe that there is something for everyone in here. So, quick introduction about me. If you don't know me, my name is Desi. I am the founder of Fashion Insiders & Co. And we are an online educational platform for fashion and creative entrepreneurs who are looking to launch, grow, and scale a fashion brand. And when I say launch, grow, and scale, I mean in a way that works for them and is not necessarily influenced by what is we are conditioned to think as the norm within the industry. So I'll start a little bit as a way of introduction by telling you that via the many years, I've been in the fashion industry for over 20 years, and I've worked for large brands and small brands. And particularly in the last maybe 7-8 years, I have had the fortune to work with many startup and small emerging brand entrepreneurs. And the common trait that I have noticed among many of them, if not almost everyone, is that regardless of which avenue, what leads them into the fashion industry, whether they have a fashion background, whether they're straight out of college or they have years in the industry, or even if they are more mature, which most of my clients are more mature individuals with a successful career behind their back of many years in another industry. When people enter the fashion industry, when they make the choice to launch a brand of their own, very often they are overwhelmed by some form of imposter syndrome. And that imposter syndrome leads them very often to listen to others and not trust themselves, and to take the wrong turns, make the wrong decisions, be too slow in some instances of the decisions they make and how they lead and develop their brand. In other instances, this imposter syndrome leads them to overwhelm and paralysis. They can't, they can't move. Often that imposter syndrome is symptomatic as a form of perfectionism, which is a form of procrastination, which is fear-based. So if you know a little bit about psychology, there's always a reason, and very often the reason is fear-based. And imposter syndrome is one of those fear-based mental states into a lot of creatives get into. And very often that lack of trust in your own opinion and that imposter syndrome leads creatives to listen to others and not follow their own common sense. Actually, this is a big topic in my book, Become a Fashion Insider, which is easily available via Amazon or my website. And in there, I discuss, there's a chapter on mindset, and you can read more about it. But not trusting your own knowledge and common sense and experience and making decisions, therefore, from the information that you have within you, as opposed to listening to others who you don't know what their motivation is or what their experience is, etc., often leads to taking the wrong decisions and not leading your brand in a way that leads you to success. Also, the reason for creatives often to constantly be looking for someone to listen to, someone else's advice to take on board, driven by this imposter syndrome, is rooted in the fact that very often creatives start their businesses without having a clear vision for their brand and a clear strategy how to execute on that vision and get to the results that they want. So when you don't have a clear map of where you're going to, any which way you think will lead you. And whoever shouts the loudest, whoever presents themselves the best and tells you that, you should listen to them, and will lead you a pathway which may or may not get you to where you want. However, if you have a strong vision for your brand and for your business, if you have a strong strategy to know what are the steps to execute, that becomes like a guiding light. And therefore, very often people are less interested in the noise around them, in the environment they are, in the so-called experts that surround them and pitch them their businesses, courses, and all the rest of it. So it's very important to know what your vision and what your strategy is. And the final thing I'll say on this topic is that perhaps the biggest, and it's linked to everything that I just said, but perhaps the biggest cause and obstacle to your success or your biggest contribution to your business's failures is the 6 inches between your ears. And that basically means mindset. So this is really why I wanted to host this masterclass, so that I can challenge, your mindset and show you that there's other ways. And just a little plug for a course that I will link below, a masterclass that I recently held. It's called Stand Up to Sell Out. It's a free one, but you can find out a lot more about the importance of environment and the people you surround yourself and how they affect you and therefore the success or failure of your business. So I highly suggest that you check the link that I'll post after this masterclass. Right. Let me go on. So why am I hosting this masterclass now? Is, like I said, I think that in the wider in the environment, the economic environment that we are living at the moment, whether it's a downturn or an upturn, etc., the fact is that there's a lot of sales events and there's a lot of events that are happening in the industry, and you have always the choice to either participate in them or not. And some of them are deemed to be good for your business and can be good for your business. Others can be bad. The choice is yours, essentially. But with all the noise, for or against, Black Friday in this case, should you do it or not do it, the judgment if you do it, the loss you incur if you don't do it, etc., it's very difficult sometimes to know what is the right thing to do. And again, I want to say that if you have a strategy and vision, you would know what the right thing is to do, because that would dictate your decisions. But also I want you to stay open to the fact that in everything that potentially is good or bad presented to you, there's always another side and there's always a hidden opportunity. You just have to reframe the proposition and make a choice how to make it work for your business. As the case I will put forward for you is a Black Friday. So I'm going to, if you have any questions, by the way, pop them down in the comments. I would happily answer them either right now, or if you're watching this later on as a replay, I would happily also jump in and answer them. So I will now tell you a little bit about the history of Black Friday. Not many people know where Black Friday comes. And funnily enough, it actually, originally the term Black Friday was used in 1869, that far back. And it was used in conjunction to a financial crisis that occurred in the stock market in the United States. So there was a crash as a result of, two rogue businessmen who wanted to play the market. And when the market crashed on a Friday, I think it was, I read it was in September 1869, that day was deemed as a Black Friday because of the financial loss that so many people incurred. Fast forward to the 20th century, and in the 1950s, again in America, a lot of people deemed the Friday after Thanksgiving as a Black Friday because so many shoppers, tourists, people went to take advantage of the sales that were taking place after Thanksgiving. And through the years, that is exactly what Black Friday became known in Canada and the US, where Thanksgiving is such a big occasion where families unite, gifts are exchanged. So it's a very big gifting holiday for the US and Canadians. And Black Friday, the day after Thanksgiving, basically was the first day of the massive seasonal winter sales that the retailers will initiate. And it was called Black Friday because the idea was, or the premise was, that for most of the years, retailers were struggling to make sales. And because of the operating expenses that they have in running the business, depending on the climate and what's going on and what kind of sales were made through the year. The fact is that most people thought that they didn't really go into profit as a business until Black Friday, when they went into the black, because they made so many sales through the discounts they were offering that they were finally at the end of the year in profit. And that's where the terminology of Black Friday comes. I personally think that Black Friday really became huge in the rest of the world, that is non-Thanksgiving celebrating countries like Europe, for example. I personally think that that became a thing since the 2007 and 8 recession, when there were so many brands who went out of business because they had accumulated through the boom years so much stock. And back in that day, I remember that I was also working for a brand. I was at the head of a luxury leather goods brand, and I was in charge of all product. And it was round about that time. I was probably about 2 years into the brand when being employed by this brand, when the recession started, and when we took a look under the bonnet of the brand into the inventory, we were amazed to find out how much inventory we were sitting on. Miscalculations, wrong orders, unsold stock. We had so much raw materials in stock that we could have easily also gone out of business. Luckily, we employed some clever sales tactics that managed to save our brand. But it was around that time, I vividly remember, that aside from many brands going out of business, those who did survive were brands who literally every month were having a sample sale. They were selling off stock at vast discounts. And it was around that time that the behavior of the consumer, in my opinion, changed, and people got used to sales, constant sales. And once you get used to sales, it's very difficult to go back. And in fact, that is why very often when I work with brand founders, because most of the brands I work with are of the premium level or luxury level of the market, I often advocate for not discounting, or if you discount, to do it for a reason within a short period of time, and to really be a very managed and careful exercise with a purpose. So in general, I'm not for discounting, but the consumers became used to it. And the consumers knew that if they withhold their money, sooner or later the brand would be pushed to discount because they need to generate sales. And because of the trickiness of the economy, particularly when there's a downturn, there's the fear of, would I make it through the year? Would I survive? And especially if you're coming into a recession off the back of a number of successful years, when you were bullish about your behavior, you were bullish about your sales, you were more willing to take risks and commit to larger volume of MOQ, of minimum order quantities with your factories, the chances are you would have accumulated stock along the way over the years, and you would be sitting on raw materials and stock. And as you know, stock is cash that is not liquid. You cannot use it. You've committed cash, but you cannot use it. So cash flow becomes a problem. And this is where, constant discounting happens. Also, when, a few brands start discounting, it triggers, the fear that others are missing out. And so we have now come to exist in a culture where there's permanent sales. I remember the days, before the 2007 and 8 recession, when really you had two seasonal sales. You had the spring, summer, and you had the autumn, winter sales, or the winter sales, which started on Boxing Day for the Europeans after Christmas. And literally it was such a big event. People will sleep on the street. They would wake up early and go and queue in massive queues to be the first ones to enter the shops. In the shops, there was like literally looting. It was chaos to get to buy the heavy discounts, because this was it. It was a summer and a winter sale. Whereas now we have all kinds of events and opportunities to buy a discount. And then we also have on top of that Black Friday. So I'm Now, I'm going to tell you how I feel that we should reframe Black Friday and we should make it work for your brand. But before I go into it, I just want to make a very quick disclaimer that this is very much my opinion. So if anyone is not in agreement with me, that is okay. I'm cool with that. Because I really believe that we should be open to other people's opinions. And I really do not like how the fashion industry has become very binary. I mentioned this before, but we have, it can be either this or it can be that. And very often, what I have noticed as well is that with the digitalizing of the world and the fashion industry, it's so easy for people now to express their opinions and to try to very often gain a kind of status for themselves, a status as influencers, perhaps, or status as activists. And very often the activists are the ones who are against, have such strong opinions against Black Friday and other events. But what I have also personally noticed that very often those who are so active with strong opinions, they are not people who have businesses, particularly product-based businesses. If you have a service-based business, you are leaner and lighter because your services cost nothing. Your services potentially is a software that you may have to pay for the running, or it's a service that you provide yourself. But when you have a brand that is product-based, you very often commit a lot of cash into your product in order to be able to operate. The more product you have, the better your marketing, the more you will sell. And it's basically this big cash flow machine that you have to be careful in operating. And when there is a sudden downturn, or when there's things that unexpectedly happen, like the pandemic, etc., and affect your cash flow, your business is on the edge of survival. And those activists that have strong opinions, they don't have that. They don't have to worry about the survival of their business because very often they don't have a business. They just have an opinion. So that is why, for me, it's important to tell you what I think and how we can reframe this whole event of Black Friday. And I was over the weekend also with some friends, and some of them have, work within the fashion industry. And again, those who were not product-based businesses had strong opinions about Black Friday. And I did a poll on Instagram as well. And some of the things that people came as reasons against not liking Black Friday was that it feels aimless, pointless consumerism, that is encouraging conspicuous consumption, that is bad for the planet because it generates more waste, that is boring. And I hear all of these things. But again, I will go back to the fact that if you're a small business owner, if you're a small fashion brand and you're sitting on stock, what are you going to do? You're going to support those ideas and buy people who don't have a product-based business? Or are you going to do everything that's necessary for your business to survive? And in order for your business to survive, you need two key things. You need a cash flow that is healthy and positive, and you're moving money. And in order to do that, you need product. And you also need visibility. Your brand needs to be known. People need to know that you exist. And this is where my thinking about Black Friday comes. Because I think that depending on your situation and how badly you need to work towards your survival, you can either use the opportunity of Black Friday to really shift stock and turn it into cash and survive, or you can use Black Friday as an opportunity to raise the visibility and standing and positioning of your brand. Because particularly in a downturn, the things that will save you from failure are cash flow, having that cash flow, and also your status as a brand, your value as a brand. So with that in mind, I will now go and tell you about some of the tactics that I see that you can apply to either survive or thrive as a business. So the first thing, like I said, is that most people see Black Friday as a transaction-based exercise, as a transaction-based event. And transactions basically are sales, right? And sales generate cash because they're turning stock that you're sitting on into cash. And I don't think that that's a bad thing. If you manage it, there's ways in which you can manage it and make it work for your brand. So you can treat it as, oh my gosh, it's boring, but it's necessary. I need to shift this stock. And you just do discounts just like everyone else does. If you look online or in the shops at the moment, you would see up to 20, 30, 40%, etc. Right? Everyone's doing the same thing. So you can either choose to see it as boring and follow in the footsteps of everyone around you and copy what they're doing, or you can choose to reframe it and make it into a fun exercise, something that is fun, it's different, it draws attention to your brand, something that allows you to, as a one-off exercise, shift a lot of stock and turn it into cash and help your brand. Something that people talk about, and therefore it raises your visibility. So why should you do it is because another reason why you should do it is because a lot of people, again, I mentioned that during the last recession, the behavior of the consumer changed and people like savings and sales. But even those who have money and who can afford your products at full price, and I saw it this weekend talking to my friends, that even though they had the means to buy certain items we were discussing about buying, everyone basically said, I'm just going to wait and see if I can get a deal during Black Friday. It's not that they couldn't afford it. It's just that everyone likes a deal. And brands I speak to at the moment, we are like 10 days away from Black Friday. Everyone has noticed a real slowdown in their sales because people are sitting and waiting, because everyone likes a bargain. And if you listen to the activists and to all the people saying that you shouldn't do Black Friday, I feel that you're missing out on sales that, especially if you need to survive, can come to you. Because the big brands, they don't care what the hearsay is. They don't care what people's opinions are. They know that the fashion industry and having a brand is a business before anything else. And as a business, you're a machine that has to turn cash flow and has to move product. And Black Friday is just another opportunity. So whether you like it or not, whether you want to participate or not, it's not going to stop them. They're going to go and do what they have to do in order for their business to survive. And if you think that, well, I can have other events of my own, why does it have to be Black Friday? It doesn't have to be. But there's so much attention and expectations by the consumers that they're going to get deals on Black Friday that you're going to miss out on if you don't participate, in my opinion, during this sales event. And that is why I'm saying you can make it more fun as opposed to just another sale, copying what everyone else is doing and putting some 2 digits discount. Also, when you participate during Black Friday, like I said, the market, the consumer market is geared up, all the focus is on Black Friday. And brands that are liking you, especially if you're a small independent brand, if they like you, they would check out and see whether they would expect you to participate and that you might have something for them that they can benefit. It doesn't always have to be, as you would see shortly, be a discount, but the expectation is there and you would miss out on that expectation. And later on, when they go and spend their money with someone else, and then a week or a month later, you go with your discount so that you're different and you don't participate in Black Friday, they are not going to be necessarily interested because they have spent their money with another brand. So in my opinion, if you can't beat them, join them. If you cannot, make the market around you and your ideal target market to follow you and sit and wait for you to have the discount offers or whatever you want as a sales event on your own terms, I feel that you should just jump in whatever is happening, and just particularly in an economic downturn, just make sure that your cash flow is flowing and you're moving stock and you're releasing stock and turning it into cash. So, like I said earlier, there's 2 ways of looking at it at a Black Friday. You can have it as a transaction and you can have it as an experience. And the transaction is obviously sales, and the experiences that you can offer without necessarily selling goods can cement or establish your brand positioning in the market more. It can help you build or cement your brand identity. It can help you grow your loyalty with your fan base. I'll go into it in a second, but let me focus first on the transaction, on the sales. So again, for an umpteenth time, I don't think that you should do Black Friday in a boring way. I think it's an opportunity to do it in a really bold, fun way that really makes you stand out. And depending again on how badly you need to survive through this period and how much stock you have to shift, you can either make more discount-based offers that are going to drive sales with your target audience, or you can have fun and do some crazy offers that you are not that bothered whether you're going to sell or not. And also you can perhaps ring fence how many of those crazy offers you are offering to people, so that you make sure that you don't sell so much, but you are participating and not elevating, but attracting attention to your brand. So it's more of a visibility and engagement kind of exercise. But some of the things that you can do, as opposed to the usual, here is 50% discount, etc., is to create bundles and shift more stock via one transaction with your customers. You can then give them heavier discounts. And again, you can limit and say, I have from this bundle X amount, like 3, or only 5 customers can buy this. So there's only one crazy offer of this bundle. There's only one available. First come, first serve. You can do bundles with a bonus, with a free gift. You can also make it more fun and have disappearing offers. Now, don't forget that when we have Black Friday is a weekend, because after Black Friday, we have Cyber Monday. So quite frankly, we have Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. This is a long weekend when you can be putting out offers to your target audience. And you can create it and make it really fun by having 24-hour different offers. You can change them. You can make them disappearing. You can have discounts that are, maybe on the Black Friday is the biggest. And if you don't buy the item at this discount now, tomorrow it would be less, the day after it would be less, Monday it would be the least. So you have to be aware and think through the different types of customers you have and the psychology. Some people are instant shoppers, some need more time to shop, but you want to perhaps trigger people to act faster, because otherwise they would lose. They would get a smaller discount. So you can have this kind of fun offers. You can have secret offers where people perhaps are spending an amount of money and they're not going to know what they're getting. If they're a really loyal fan of yours, and if you kind of present it as a particular bunch of products are going to be in this offer, and you're not going to know what you're going to get, that can be a fun way of shopping. Again, that is not perhaps a strategy for someone who really needs to release stock and turn it into cash. But if you wanted to create an experience for your customers, perhaps that's a nice way of doing it. Because again, it gets people following you, it gets people talking about it. It's just a new, unusual, unconventional way of selling products. You can have limited offers where you're limiting the number of products that you sell, or you're limiting the time that you're going to sell these things for, the products. And another great idea that some time back I heard of one designer was that they, perhaps not every year, but they sat on a lot of stock and they were selling it by the kilo. So they would ask their customers to give them a parameters, a framework within which they can put a lot of products, garments into a bag and sell it by the kilo. That is not something that everyone can utilize, but it's a fun way. If you have a lot of stock, if it's of a low value, if it's a clearance kind of stock, and you have a loyal clientele looking for bargains, perhaps it's a clever and fun way for, to promote and release stock. You can also do something new that you haven't done before. You can experiment. And many small independent brands that I know, they shy away from selling live on social media. But quite frankly, this is where things are going, whether we like it or not. And I have noticed quite a few successful independent brands that they have huge following and they are doing really well because they have gotten into the habit of selling live regularly through whatever their best social media channel is. Very often it's Instagram or at least the ones that I follow on Instagram. And what is really great about this, and I would encourage anyone to try it, is that it allows your customer base to get to know you as the founder, if you're brave enough to put yourself forward. It allows your customer base to get to know the designer, the vibe of the brand, because when you present, there's a certain vibe that you're going to create through your humor, that perhaps you're using through the way you communicate your offers, through the way you describe your garments. People would be able to see your passion about what you're creating, your passion about the fabrics. They would be able to engage with you and ask questions and shop in, and have that connection, because at the end of the day, people buy from people. And so if you haven't done anything until now like that, perhaps now is the opportunity on a Black Friday, when there's so much attention and everyone's eyes are on getting deals, etc., is to do a live show. You can make it into a party, into a celebration. You can give it a theme. You can do something that is fun and it's different from everyone else, and it makes you stand out and attract existing customers, retain existing customers, attract new customers. You can turn it into a competition where on the live you're giving gifts perhaps to people who bring other people into the live and comment or engage. The more people are engaging on your live, the more the algorithm is showing it to other people and more people will come. So you see, there's a lot of benefits that you can reap with an exercise like this. And that is hugely important for a brand. That visibility, that engagement, that bringing into your circle of your segment of the market of new blood, new people who through that life are very instantly going to get to know you and what your brand is about, and perhaps snap up a deal, especially when people are new to a brand. Getting them to purchase through a discount, it's easier, and that's their first experience. And if they're happy, they're then a lot more willing to buy a full priced item. So perhaps you do something that you haven't done before. It's an opportunity perhaps to form in a little bit in advance collaborations, organize some kind of competitions. Like I said, I feel that if you think that Black Friday is boring, it's because if you think it, you make it boring. But I think that there's a huge opportunity to make it really fun and to make your brand stand out in the sea of brands who are just slapping 2-digit discounts and promoting as that. And I think that, that's opportunity is worth taking, especially, again, I emphasize, if you are someone who is in a critical need to shift stock and turn it into cash. Now, when you make all of these sales, in order to stand out from the sea of sameness, is that also you can make some more unconventional sales offers, like, for example, that have an element of something personal, depending on where your customer base is and if it's a local customer base. But you can offer something where perhaps if someone bought a particular one offer and it's of a sizable amount, perhaps they get to meet you. Perhaps you offer, for all the people who buy on the day, to draw out of a hat a winner, and that winner helps you design something new or contribute something to to your brand, or have some sort of involvement, meet you online, and whatever it is. I don't know. You can think you know your brand better. You would know what will tickle and excite your audience. But what I'm trying to encourage you to do is to think outside of the box and make it fun. Because when you're having fun, the energy that you will create will be felt by your audience. It would attract people who like that kind of energy, and it would create infinite possibilities for your brand. So I think it's worth doing it. Then you can also so we said that you can have the transaction. Sorry, I'm looking at my notes so I make sure that I don't skip anything. So you have the transaction, which is about sales. If you don't really need so much sales, but you can see Black Friday as an opportunity to get visibility for your brand. Like I said before, survival at any time, good or bad economic times, depends on having a steady cash flow that is growing, moving stock around, etc., and also of being visible, so that you're constantly attracting new customers into your circle of customers, your pool of buyers. And you can look at Black Friday as an experiential exercise where you offer some sort of fun experiences for your current existing clients, and or attract new clients. And again, some of the things that I mentioned already go towards this experiential exercise that is going live and showing what is the character, the personality, the vibe of your brand. You can use Black Friday as an opportunity to show behind the scenes, to tell stories about your brand, to highlight people from your brand, to educate and attract the right caliber of customer to your brand through the expose, through the showing and educating on your brand. You can create Q&As and ask people to, ask you questions and you answer them, and perhaps do a draw with some winnings. I mean, you can think of things. By doing things like this that are experience-based, you're creating loyalty and engagement. And again, I think that goes a long way to bringing new people into your circle of customers, and also cultivating your customer base, getting them to talk about you, to like you, to expect the unexpected from you, and stay present and engaged because they like how you do business, because you're different, because you're fun. And I think that is really important. The next thing that I think that you can utilize Black Friday for as a brand, especially if you're not in the need to survive, is to perhaps use the opportunity of Black Friday to give back. I became alerted to this notion through a sustainable brand that I've gotten to know of late, called Laura Jean. But she, I think it was last year or the year before, she used Black Friday as an opportunity not to discount her goods. In fact, she was selling them at full price. But she openly said that certain percentage, I can't remember the digits, but certain percentage of her sales made on that particular day or weekend would be taken and given as bonus to her workers, to her manufacturers, to the people who make a product and without whom she has no brand and product. And I thought that was genius and super novel idea of giving back, of supporting the people who usually are unseen, unappreciated, and unsupported, really. Very often these people earn very little money. They're not recognized as an integral part of the industry, and yet they are the rockbed of the industry if you're product-based. And what a wonderful way for you for your customers to buy on that day, knowing perhaps that as a sustainable brand who also is ethical, whose values are rooted in fairness, equality, nourishing of small businesses, etc., etc. If you are using this opportunity, this so-called consumerist, encouraging event, is actually supporting those who need it the most. And depending on the kind of brand you are, depending on the kind of values you have and the ethos of your brand, I think that you can take Black Friday for all the badness and bad sides that it has, and actually spin it and reframe it and present it to your audience as something else and make it work for you. You can use it as a marketing exercise to attract more attention, to create more loyalty, and to build on the premise and idea that is centered to the success of your brand. And in this way, attract a lot more people who are aligned in terms of values to your brand. And they would become not only loyal customers, but also for the long-term advocates. So the same can also apply for you, not discounting goods, but using this event and these sales, a percentage of it to give to a charity that is meaningful to you, or it's meaningful and is voted by your customers. Imagine if you did a poll and said, on this day I will be selling, and X percent goes to a charity that you vote, and you collectively decide on what it is. Again, I think that this is a very meaningful way to pay forward your success and to allow customers, your customer base, to contribute to something that's meaningful to all of you, and for them to therefore appreciate you even more and grow their loyalty towards you even more. So this, you see, so Black Friday, in my opinion, you can use it as a transaction, but you can also use it as highlighting and reconnecting to your values, communicating your values, and attracting more attention, engagement, press-worthy activities, etc. You can even promote them. You can send out a press release to companies saying that on this Black Friday, you're giving back. And you can use that event also to be transparent about what you're like as a brand, how you operate, what happens to your sales when you sell, what are your margins potentially. You may not want to be fully transparent with your margins, but you can be transparent about your sources, your manufacturers. And again, that is something that nowadays, particularly if you're a small independent brand who promotes themselves as sustainable and ethical, is important potentially to your customer base. So I'm going to start wrapping up because I don't want to keep it too long. But basically, my idea is that things are what you want. Things are the meaning you decide to give them. So if you want to decide to give a bad meaning to Black Friday, then it would be a bad event. But if you decide to reframe it and see it in a different light, then it will be different because you decided, and you would work towards taking and making activities that are going to support the meaning that you are giving to this sales event. I choose to see Black Friday as an opportunity for small independent brands to either sell stock so that they can survive and they're this time next year still here, or as an opportunity for them to have fun and gain more visibility and engagement. Perhaps not so many sales, but attract new customers to their world that will be then cultivated and converted to become customers. There is an opportunity for sales and there's an opportunity for giving, in my opinion. And you can do both, or you can take one or the other avenue. But I think it's an event that it's here to stay, whether we like it or not, it's here to stay. So we can ignore it and lose out, or we can make the best of it and make it work for our brands. And I want you to know that very often those who criticize, I mean, you probably know that, and I started off opening by this, saying it, but those who criticize, there's always going to be people who are going to criticize you for doing Black Friday, for doing discounting, etc. But those who criticize are not often people who have businesses, and they don't know your responsibility as a business owner and what kind of hoops and challenges you have to overcome to ensure that you stay tomorrow, next month, next year in business and continue to support the people who make your product, the people who potentially you're employing, the families, your own and others that you're feeding. So I would really encourage you to strengthen your independent thinking and tune out of the other's opinion and focus on creating a vision, strong vision for your business, a strategy that supports that vision, and then decide if things like Black Friday or other events are right for you or not. And yeah, that is it. So I don't know if anyone has any questions. Like I said, you can drop them below. You can get in touch via the socials and ask me things. And otherwise, in conclusion to this, I would tell you that those of you who don't know, I have a book called Become a Fashion Insider that you can find on all of the international Amazons and my website. But it's a solid book on business, fashion business, creative business, how to grow your brand with a sound business logic and foundations. So I would encourage you, if you need a little bit of help, to dig into that. And there's another masterclass called Sold Out Secrets, which is a paid masterclass. You can find links below this video I will post, or via Instagram, or you can DM me. And it's another sales masterclass that I've created, which basically paints the picture of sales as part of an ecosystem. Nothing in business happens in isolation. You will find many experts telling you need this, you need that, and you need all of these things, but you don't need them in isolations. They need to work together. They need to clap together. You can't clap with one hand. So nothing works in isolation. So that masterclass, Sold Out Secrets, goes and explains to you the ecosystem within which your business will thrive, if that's where you want it to go. And finally, I wanted to remind you, if you don't know, that should you need any help with growing your business, you can get in touch with me. I offer power sessions, power hours, where you can get, I can answer questions, I can help you with strategy and set you in the right path, or you can inquire to work with me one-on-one. So with that, I thank you for being here with me and having the patience to watch this masterclass. I would welcome your feedback and any thoughts that you had, any ahas. And I hope you found it useful. Like I said, I think that there's something for everyone in here. Even if you don't agree with me, perhaps it's food for thought on some things. You can walk away and think this was not useful at all, or you can think this was the best thing since sliced bread. Either way, thank you for watching it and for being here with me. And I'll see you in another masterclass. Bye for now.